Hello, welcome back to For Struggling Filmmakers. My name's Emma. Joining me, as always, is the lovely Noah,
Hello.
Jimmy,
Hello.
and James. So, before we go any further, do we have any film recommendations? I can go first. I've got one. So, considering this week on the 2nd of February, it was in fact Groundhog Day. What a way to recommend this week's film as the film Groundhog Day, 1993, I believe. Yeah, I think why not watch it? I think it'll strike a chord with everyone because we're in lockdown, so I won't ruin it. But go watch it.
It's a classic. If you haven't seen it, it's Groundhog Day. Come on.
Anyone else?
I've got a recommendation. Once again, it isn't a film because I'm very indecisive when it comes to choosing what to watch.
We're not for struggling TV makers, are we?
All right, Noah. All right. Okay. This week, I watched both series of The Mandalorian within 4 days because it's quite an easy binge. It's fun. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. If you're missing old school Star Wars, it's definitely one to watch.
This week we have dedicated the entire podcast to, drumroll please, everyone's favourite James Bond. Yes.
That's at least one.
We've each picked a Bond and a subsequent film. And we're going to go through chronological order and talk about the Bond we have chosen. Feel free to let us know your favourite James Bond in the comments and join the discussion.
So shall I take it away?
Go for it.
So I picked From Russia with Love, and I've actually written down before I go into it, and you can nod or you can shake your head, sort of hallmarks of Bond films, because I think we need to get that out for everyone. What makes a Bond film? Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
They're spy films, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, you get Bond girls in them, yeah?
Yeah.
Correct.
Goofy gadgets,
Yes.
musical themes,
Always.
various locations around the world,
Yeah.
vehicle chases,
Absolutely.
villains, obviously,
You'd hope so.
with elaborate plans I've added as well, and funny one-liners.
Yes, that is something I
Yeah.
noticed rewatching them. Absolutely.
Is there anything I've missed out?
I think that's the main one.
Pretty good, Noah. Like,
Yeah, that was
that's
good.
Yeah.
Distilled
Right
it
on.
into its basic elements. Nice one.
So I picked From Russia with Love. It was 1963. It's directed by Terence Young, who also did Dr. No the year before and Thunderball a few years later. It's obviously got Sean Connery, the first ever James Bond in it, and a lot of people say he's the best. I'm not too sure what my preference is yet, but who knows. And so it's got Robert Shaw's in it as an assassin called Red. You've got Desmond Llewellyn as Q. You've got Bernard Lee as M. Budget 2 million, made 2 million, and the box office 79 million. Yeah, that big step up from Dr. No. I don't know what Dr. No was, but that's a lot more money they made basically. It's got all the hallmarks sort of already, I think, as we've just said. John Barry is composer as well. The From Russia with Love song isn't actually at the beginning though. It's actually played at the end, and there's actually a bit where it's played as a diegetic piece of sound. Spectre, who we know are like a common sort of group of villains of James Bond, they want revenge on him after he killed Dr. No in the previous installment. So it's kind of
It's some continuity.
continuation, isn't it? Which is
Oh, yes.
not really common. Plots in James Bond films, they're not the best, really. No one watches them for their scintillating storytelling, let's just be honest. This is not great in terms of storytelling, but it's good. It's just a Bond film, isn't it? So you got someone called Rosa Klebb, who's number 3. She's like the bad woman, and she uses a character called Tatiana Romanova, who is the Bond girl in this, played by Daniela Bianchi, who didn't actually. She's Italian, but she plays a Russian, and it's not her voice in it. It's dubbed over by someone else.
Really?
I didn't know that.
And then there's helicopter chase. There's a boat chase. At the very end of this, Rosa Klebb, number 3, she tries to kill Bond again, but then Romanova is like, no, and saves the day because she loves James Bond, obviously.
Because she's from Russia with
With
love.
love.
Exactly.
There you go.
This was the second one, as I said, and it starts to introduce, because Dr. No didn't really have many of the conventions we know from Bond films. This was when we saw the first pre-title sequence, which is a really good one, actually. It's really like psychedelic, and then you've got like belly dancers projecting people's names. It's really quite good, that one. You got Blofeld, who we obviously know is one of the arch villains of James Bond.
I've got a Blofeld fact for that film.
Blofeld fact. Blofeld fact. Let's go.
You don't see him in From Russia with Love, do you?
No, you don't.
He is played by the guy who tries to kill Bond with the tarantula in Dr. No, Anthony Davidson. There you go. There's one old man in the audience who's enjoyed that fact. So there you go.
Apparently, this is the first helicopter sequence, and there's always been a helicopter chase scene. It's a bit different, this one. It's a bit more. This is, in terms of like Bond as a grander sort of franchise and what we know about it, it's a bit more quiet and reserved, this one. It's not really goofy. There isn't really any like goofiness to it, like with your like larger than life villains like Goldfinger. You've just got an assassin, Robert Shaw, who just wants to kill James Bond because he's been told to do it. He's not got any like ridiculous features to him. He's just got sort of silver hair and he's quite hench. Q's gadgets are always worth a mention in this. He's got a briefcase and he has to twist it horizontally and pull it out, because if he doesn't twist it horizontally, tear gas blows up in his face, which of course is what he uses to defeat Robert Shaw during the fight scene on the train. It will always come back, won't it? Yeah, I think with Dr. No and this one, they're very different to the rest. I think they found the formula they wanted with Goldfinger the year later, and they sort of stuck with that. This one's sort of, they just try to be more grounded and not.
It's still finding their footing, I guess, because they're they're just starting out and throwing things at the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah, this and Dr. No are quite heavily inspired by Hitchcock as well. Especially,
I thought that might have been the case.
Yeah, the helicopter chase scene at the end of this is, I mean, it's almost identical to the North by Northwest plane scene in terms of the way it's filmed and everything. They're very Hitchcockian. In terms of misogyny, it's not the worst, but it's still not. It's still pretty bad. I think personally, the Roger Moore ones are really like awful.
Yeah, but Roger Moore never had gypsy fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the gypsy fighting.
Sean Connery is definitely a flirty Bond.
He's quite sleazy. Actually, probably Roger Moore's the most sleazy, I think. Or is that just the character itself?
There's a scene when they've gone under the hotel or whatever, and they're spying on who I can't remember who it was, but the only thing they can see is this woman walking across, like the waitress or whatever.
Yeah, and
he
I've
asks,
got the quote written down.
Yeah, he asks like, "Oh, what's it looking like?" And he's like, "Well," and Sean Connery's like, "Well, from this angle, it's looking up or something like that."
Things are shaping up nicely as he looks at the woman's butt, basically. Yeah, the gypsy bit, which is just questionable in itself, that whole bit. But when there's the two gypsies that have to fight, don't they?
Yeah.
For the to get with like the leader's son or something like that, and then they give James Bond the choice of these two women, and they say, "Take your pick, Mr. Bond," and it's just like, oh dear.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's just early 1960s audience is obviously a lot different to today, of course.
If you look at book Bond, it's probably worse, at least as bad.
It's also worth mentioning as well. Apparently, this is a lot of people's favourite Bonds. Sean Connery himself,
Definitely. Really?
Timothy Dalton,
No way.
and Daniel Craig.
They
all say this is their favourite James Bond.
What are your guys' favourite James Bonds?
I don't really know. I really like Casino Royale. Maybe
Good choice.
I don't know really. I thought it might have been this one, but having rewatched it, maybe not.
What about you, James?
I feel like I haven't seen enough Bond films to make like an informed opinion. Like I've seen all the Craig ones, and I've seen GoldenEye, and that's it.
Okay.
I can't just be like, oh, that one's my favorite because that's one I've seen. But maybe I'll get around to it. For now, I guess Casino Royale as well. Like it's a nice reinvention of like the Bond formula to an extent. But yeah, that's good.
That's two cop-out answers. Go on, Emma.
Daniel Craig through and through. I just think he's the best Bond.
What's your favourite film though?
Casino Royale.
Way,
Hang
Jimmy.
on, Jimmy. I might change. Okay, I'm going to change mine.
Oh,
The Spy Who Loved Me.
Well, mine is The Living Daylights. So there you go.
I think I picked From Russia with Love just because I think it's quite a really interesting film to look within the grand scheme of Bond films. It's very entertaining. It's very 60s. It's very Hitchcockian, and it's just really good. And from Sean Connery, we now skip forward to Timothy Dalton. Jimmy.
Thank you, Noah. So yes, quite a big time jump here. We're skipping from 1963 to 1989. Thank you, Emma. So Roger Moore came in obviously early 70s, and Bond had a complete change of direction. Also, George Lazenby happened once, but we won't talk about that. And Bond very much turned into quippy, campy, one-liner, goofy territory, almost parodical territory, which makes sense because the parodies were starting to come out even before then, with like the 1967 Casino Royale with David Niven and other terrible disasters like that. By 1985, when Roger Moore was nearly 60 years old and far too old to be Bond, we had A View to a Kill with Christopher Walken as the bad guy, and it really was the nail in the Roger Moore era of Bond. He was too old, and it was time for somebody new. They obviously asked Timothy Dalton, who said, yes, I would like to do this. He actually got asked after Sean Connery when he was about 25 for on Her Majesty's Secret Service, but he very respectfully said, I'm far too young, what the hell are you doing? Go find somebody else. And Timothy Dalton's Bond is much more like book Bond. Gone are a lot of the quips, a lot of the humour, back to basics, far less gadgets. It's quite a serious Bond. Films are noticeably quite a bit darker, particularly the one I'm going to talk about. Yeah, and Timothy Dalton's the only Bond actor who's ever read a Bond novel. You would think one of them might have tried, but only Dalton. I picked License to Kill to talk about. Having rewatched it, I think a bit like Noah, and maybe like James is going to say as well, I kind of think it's not my favourite Bond film. In fact, I know it's not my favourite Bond film, but I like License to Kill a lot. I think License to Kill does a few things that are really new and original for Bond, certainly at that time. First Bond film to have a 15 certificate over here. It's not based, one of the first Bond films not to be based on the plot of an original novel, which is also new and unique. And it's very much a personal story to Bond. I won't go through the plot in great detail, but I'll just basically give you the setup. So at the beginning of the film, we get this amazing action sequence. It's Felix Leiter's wedding day, and Bond is the best man. Of course he is. He's always the best man. And suddenly they realize that big drug dealer Franz Sanchez, played by Robert Davi, is in the area. So in their tops and tails, they rush on over to try and arrest him. And what they end up doing is like tying his biplane to a helicopter. And then from that, they parachute into the wedding. It's really cool. So that's our little intro action bit. And then you go into the like, License to Kill, and all that. That was terrible. I have to say, I love the song License to Kill. It completely doesn't fit with the film at all.
Who is it?
It's Gladys Knight. Thank you for testing me on that one.
I don't know. I don't think I know how that goes. But
it's really like positive, uplifting power ballad that goes, he's got a license to kill and it's going straight to your heart. Yeah, like that. It doesn't fit with the film at all. Like, film is really dark because immediately after that scene, Felix Leiter, basically Franz Sanchez escapes. Felix Leiter is kidnapped by him. His brand new wife is killed instantly off screen by Benicio del Toro, who was about 20 when this film came out. And then they lower Felix Leiter into a shark, literally, and it really gory. I didn't remember it was this gory, but like really graphically, like bites his leg off, and it eats a bit of his arm as well, and then, understandably, Bond is really upset.
That one as well with the shark scene. There is that like tiny, even though it's gruesome, there's that tiny bit of comedy when Bond finds him and there's just a note attached to him, and the note just says he disagreed with something that ate him.
Yeah,
That was quite funny.
That's actually a fantastic scene because that humor works really well. And then I think the acting. This is why I love Timothy Dalton, classically trained, basically Shakespearean actor. I can qualify this, but I think he's the best sort of actor to play Bond in terms of his other body of work and his performance. And his acting when he picks up the phone and says like, "Get an ambulance right now," I think is really spot on, and it just sets the tone for the rest of the film.
I think Timothy Dalton's Bond is a little bit more reckless, especially shown in this film.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is a revenge story, but for me, less like the fact that they decide to just go chasing after someone, one, before the wedding, and two,
Yeah.
at the wedding, he gets given a lighter and he lights it up in their face.
Yeah, it suddenly cuts away, doesn't it? But he goes like that, it's like, and he nearly kills everyone dead. Yeah,
It's not as like calculated as some of the other Bonds.
yeah. I think that goes back to book Bond though, because he's very fallible, particularly in this film. He gets knocked out and taken prisoner and captured like 3 or 4 times in this film. He's not perfect, but I like that from a script point of view. His emotions are really throwing him off in this film, and I like that sort of more realistic. Roger Moore could walk into any situation, walk out of it without a drop of sweat on his brow. Like Timothy Dalton is literally sweating the whole film because he's doing all his own stunts as well. Like when the tanker blows up at the end, I think he said afterwards, he's like, I actually thought I was going to die because he was so close to it. And he did actually nearly die doing another stunt as well, but that's by the by. Let's talk about some things that are maybe not so good. I mean, Bond always sucks at doing things with its female characters. It gets a lot better as we get into Daniel Craig's era, but I think this film is particularly poor, particularly after Living Daylights. I think has quite a developed and 3-dimensional female character. This film has 2 female characters. It's got Lupi Lamora, who is Fran Sanchez's like concubine, effectively, who is taken against her will, and horrible things happen to her. She has the start of a really good character development. Like she's really poorly treated by Sanchez, and she just wants a better life. We get one scene of that at the beginning, never mentioned again, pretty much. Pam Bouvier, her character, I think, has like 5 moments in the film. She's like, yep, used to be a pilot in the army, and I love Bond, I guess. That's it. That's it for that.
How was it in the box office? Was he? I can't remember. I don't know. You'll probably know if he was a popular Bond.
It did. So Living Daylights and License to Kill both did really well over here and in Europe. In fact, Living Daylights did really well in general. I can't remember the numbers. License to Kill came out at the exact same time as like 3 or 4 other films, literally like in the same month. So it was like Lethal Weapon came out at the same time and a few other things. It really struggled at the American box office. And then that set off a chain of events that ended up basically Dalton's contract expiring and then paving the way for Pierce Brosnan. I think the soundtrack is really good in the film. It's sorts of Latin inspiration filtered throughout the score. I like it when the James Bond themes incorporate the setting into the theme. On the whole, does something different with Bond, takes him to his basics. Timothy Dalton's an amazing actor.
I've got a query for you guys. Like hypothetical. You're in charge of casting the next Bond. Who do you pick?
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba, that's a classic pick. I really like that.
Classic pick, yeah.
Henry Cavill, hands down.
Yeah.
Who?
Henry Cavill. Yeah. If you
yeah.
the man from
What about a little left field pick like Riz Ahmed?
No,
Do you not think that would work?
No, he's a little man.
I could see it. It's just.
What about Richard? Because they say Richard Madden's always going to be
Richard
because of
Madden.
his bodyguard work.
My pick would be Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, he's not a bad pick.
Ed Miliband could be a good one.
Ed Miller.
All the Miller Bays, remember?
The conclusion to get from James's question is we should not be in charge of casting the next one.
Why?
Because
Oh,
we
it's a
have about a
bad
million different Bonds.
Also, Ed Miliband.
Close enough.
Ed Miller Bond.
Oh,
There it is. Continuing on, we're moving on to another Bond, Mr. Pierce Brosnan, with the first film in his Bond repertoire, GoldenEye. Came out in
GoldenEye.
1995. Much like License to Kill, it's its own original story as well, so it's not based on anything. It's directed by Martin Campbell, who would go on to direct Casino Royale, which we'll talk about in a bit. GoldenEye is a bunch of different things. It's a big weapon that is like a big EMP that knocks out and sometimes explodes places. And then you've got the Russians basically in charge of it. One of them being Xenia Onatop, which is a bit explicit.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, she's having a lot of fun with it. It is quite funny. You can tell she's having a lot of. She puts a lot into the role, and it's quite entertaining. But it is quite explicit, and a bit over the top. And that's kind of how I would describe GoldenEye. It's very over the top. Big twist halfway through. Turns out, person in charge of GoldenEye was 006, who died in a previous mission, played by Sean Bean, Mr. Alec Trevelyan, which is he's basically like a dark reflection of Bond, which is an interesting aspect, but unfortunately it wasn't really played up that much, which I thought could be like an interesting dynamic of like the good Bond versus the bad Bond, but it's just Bond versus Sean Bean.
I want to hear at least 5 minutes about why Boris is the best.
That pen bit is probably my favorite bit of the film because it's such tension. It's a nice it's finally like a nice bit of payoff because you have all of the entire scene of basically all of the gadgets and stuff with Q. But in the end, they have a big fist fight, old Bond and Sean Bean on top of a satellite, and then he drops him. He's like, "For England, James?" And he's like, "No, for me." And he's gone. He's like, "Ah!" And he falls and he breaks his leg in like 3 different positions, and he's just like, "Ew." And you see it for a brief second. You're like, "Oh, that's quite a bit extreme." But he lives, and then the satellite just comes crashing down and he dies. And that's GoldenEye. So yeah, GoldenEye is very cheesy. It's very 90s, like big action.
Pierce Brosnan era was cheesy, really, wasn't it?
All of it was. It's it wants to be a turning point in the franchise, which I'll do a comparison in a second. But it wants to be the point where it's like, okay, we're going to do Bond, but this is like modern Bond. It's going to be a bit different. We're going to have like a female M and like women who talk back to him and aren't as, passive. And it's just like, oh, Bond, you're lovely. But basically, there's a point in the film where M sits Pierce Brosnan down and he's like, I don't like you. You're like a misogynistic dinosaur. Can you not be Bond anymore? And he's like, yeah, all right. That doesn't happen. He just continues to be Bond, and the film just plays out as any other Bond film would play out as. And here's the weird comparison. It reminded me of Deadpool. Stick with me on this. So when I first watched Deadpool back in 2016, they kept on, breaking the fourth wall and being like, this isn't like your standard superhero film. We're doing stuff and pointing out like, haha, look at this. And then they just did it anyway. They didn't like change anything or fix any of the problems. They just did stuff because that was part of the formula. And with GoldenEye, it's basically the same thing. It's just doing things for the sake of, that's just the way it's supposed to be. And yeah, GoldenEye is just sort of lost on me a little bit because I didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I would. It's a crowd pleaser. I imagine when it came out, a lot of people enjoyed it. But when I watched it, it was just sort of, it was all right. Like it was enjoyable in the action scenes, and it had the odd moment of tension and a nice funny line here and there, but like nothing about it screams like this is the best Bond film, which is a shame, really. It's got a nice bit of a synthy soundtrack by Eric Serra, who usually works with Luc Besson on a lot of his films, so like Fifth Element and Leon. Did a lot of the soundtracks for that. And of course the theme tune, GoldenEye, with Tina Turner, written by Bono.
Really?
It's again, it's a fine song. Like it sticks in your head. It's an earworm, but aside from that, it's just pretty standard. And that's how I describe GoldenEye. It's a bit cheesy, bit bombastic, but it's just very standard for a Bond film. And even with the aspects that are interesting, they don't go far enough with them to be, as interesting as they could be, basically.
That is a really harsh indictment of the Brosnan era. Bear in mind,
Like just this film, I've only seen GoldenEye, but that's how I feel.
It's only downhill from there, James. Like Tomorrow Never
Yeah.
Dies.
Oh
Tomorrow Never Dies is like pretty okay. World Is Not Enough. Die Another Day. It's like tragic. Like it's Bond destroying
decline.
for 5 years level.
Yeah. Also, you can't mention GoldenEye without mentioning GoldenEye the game.
I knew you.
The ever popular game. Obviously, as you can see behind me, I'm in one of the levels. But yeah, that's a very popular thing. Well, most people who know GoldenEye kind of relate it to the game in some way because they kind of grew up on that. I haven't played it, but apparently it's really good. So
it revolutionized multiplayer.
Yeah, and first-person shooter. Because originally it was going to be third person, and then they were like, "Nah, just do first person." And
It just looks like Minecraft.
the rest is history.
Look, it looks like Minecraft.
It's not Minecraft. It's just old polygonal like graphics. It's just Nintendo 64 style.
Very quickly, if we can squeeze this in.
Mhm.
Fun fact: in 1985, I think, just after Roger Moore finished Roger Mooring, they asked Pierce Brosnan, "Do you want to be Bond now?" Because he was making Remington Steele at the time.
Yes, he was.
And unfortunately, he was locked in on the contract for Remington Steele. Wait, did I say this earlier? Anyway, so they got Timothy Dalton, and then in 1995, they managed to get him.
What's that name? Oh, new mission coordinates. We're moving on to Emma.
Hello. Thanks for that lovely segue. So yeah, we are moving on to our final Bond and our most modern Bond. Daniel Craig, I think a fan favourite. We're starting with his very first film, 2006's Casino Royale, which I'm sure people know, but if you don't know, is actually a remake on the 1967 original, which tried to make itself a parody and a comedy, and it just didn't really work. So this Bond, this Casino Royale looks more into a return to the Bond formula than the original, and I think was far more successful. It had a budget of 150 million, and at the box office, it made 616.5. So
Really good.
very good result. What Casino Royale does nicely is at the start, it introduces you into Bond being promoted to get his license. Right from the start, Daniel Craig's Bond is returning to more Timothy Dalton era in terms of being a little bit more dark and gritty. I think Daniel Craig's Bond definitely is a no mercy kind of Bond, and it's not till about an hour and a half into the film that you really see him show any emotion, and that's in the shower scene.
You know, it was it was Daniel Craig's idea. Vesper has more like clothes off. Originally was going to have more clothes off, but I think Daniel Craig said no because he was like, I don't think she'd care what she was wearing if she was in the shower at this point.
Yeah, and I think the fact that she is fully clothed in this really expensive ball gown, it works better than because otherwise it was just a sexual male gaze, whereas this is an actual emotional scene. It's the first time we see him show any emotion, and it's an hour and a half into a 2-hour film. His Bond is definitely set up as a no mercy, quite violent Bond. Casino Royale is directed by Martin Campbell, which we've already mentioned. Basically, if you don't know, it follows this guy. His name is
The Sheep.
And basically he's put a load of money into the fact that this new plane company or whatever is going to go wrong, and then it doesn't because Bond saves the day. So then he's in this high stakes poker game to try and win the money because where's our money? And they threaten to chop off his girlfriend's arm and all of that good stuff. And then half the film is this poker game, and we get reintroduced to an old character, Felix Leitner. Is that how you say it? Leiter, yeah. Who's played by Arnold from Westworld.
Yeah, Bernard,
that's it, not Arnold. Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright, yeah.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright.
love me some Jeffrey Wright, great actor.
How is it in terms of its treatment of women in this era? From a woman's
so that's what I was going to
perspective yourself, Emma.
So, I think Daniel Craig's Bond definitely respects women a little bit more. I think there's still that, not, I wouldn't go as far as saying necessarily misogyny, but there's still that level of the male gaze and females as objects, because that's what Bond is known for. I'm not saying it's necessarily right or wrong, but it is a synonymous theme within Bond. But I think definitely women are treated better.
There was the woman in Skyfall, which is a bit odd, where she's been like abused in the past.
Camille, is it? Camille?
Yeah, I can't, and then he sort of manipulates her just a little bit, and that's a bit odd.
Well,
That's a bit dodgy, but that's not too bad, I guess.
I think Daniel Craig Bond, generally within his films, tends to stick. Well, I was going to say tends to stick to one woman, but I think even Casino Royale, he usually has one woman that gets murdered, and then the other one who he sticks with.
Yeah.
That's in every Daniel Craig Bond film.
One thing I did notice with Casino Royale, especially when it comes to the action, it's no dialogue pretty much. It's all done through like sound and music, and it fits so well. And that's something I noticed watching all the Bonds actually. I think as a formula, Bond does so well with music and incorporating it into scenes.
Yeah.
Casino Royale especially also has, when there's an action scene, a lot happens. So it's not just like, for example, in Jimmy's one we were talking about earlier, where it's the gypsy scene and they're just in that one place. In a Casino Royale, it's like bam, 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 bam. Everything's happening everywhere, and it's quick cuts, and you feel like you're here, there, and everywhere, which I thought was quite cool.
It's post-born Bond, isn't it? Which is
It's weird, because I think the action's really good in Casino Royale with the free running scene as well. That's really good. That's amazing, actually.
Was popular at the time, and that's why he does a lot of free running.
And then, 2 years later or so, the action in Quantum of Solace is dreadful.
Yeah, it's not a good film in general, is it?
Right, how did they get that so wrong over a space of 2 years?
I think overall, Daniel Craig's Bond is a more acceptable Bond in terms of looking at context of audience today. I think he's
torture scene. Don't forget the torture scene.
Yeah, I was about to say that he's more of a physical Bond as well. Like, he looks like a physical Bond, which is shown especially in the torture scene. And even the villain goes, "Oh, well, you've been looking after yourself," and he's kind of like, "Yeah, I know," but like in the way he acts as well, he's a very physical Bond. I think, yeah, I think he's very much driven through the physical motion of being Bond, rather than saying he's Bond. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, Daniel Craig's, I think, a great physical. I wonder, it's the relationship between Bond and Vesper, I think, feels a lot more modern, because Bond actually does love Vesper, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about that a bit, Emma. That's a really interesting one.
Yeah, so I think the relationship between Bond and Vesper is really interesting, because it starts as like maybe a rom-com with them meeting on the train and those little quips back and forth, and then it sort of moves on, and they're joking together, they're getting on really, really well, and then we cut to near the end and they're in Venice, swanning around, having a great time, and then all of a sudden she's a traitor, which is funny that this film has double traitors, because we've also got Mathis, who's a traitor. So I thought it was strange. I mean, you didn't necessarily see it coming. You think, oh, they're in Venice, we're about to see the end of the film. But no.
Yeah, I find the ending of Casino Royale extremely tagged. It feels tagged on to me. It feels like they just felt like they had to glue it. Mathis later turns out in one of the later films to not have been a traitor as well, I'm pretty sure. So it's very weird things happening.
Yeah, so that's Daniel Craig and his Bond. So yeah, feel free to let us know your favourite Bond and why. But I believe we have a James Bond themed game now, which
do we ever? It's not really a game, it's more like a quiz. Right, so I'll say, so it's 15. It's only I'll debate doing 20, but Emma told me to do 15. The first 5 are musical related, and then the next 10 are just sort of guess the character.
Cool.
With the music ones, the idea is that I'm going to read out lyrics to some of the Bond themes, and you've just got to tell me, tell me the name of the song or the film. Ready?
Loving it.
No one really. Here we go. So yeah, I put guess the film / songs because I didn't know which one would be easier for everyone.
Fine. I mean, I'm trying to cheat here.
We'll
so-
see how we go.
Okay, so I'm going to read out the example. And so the second after I finish reading it out, someone has to buzz. Just say buzz.
Okay.
Okay.
So which film will this be from? Goldfinger. He's the man with the Midas touch.
Buzz.
Buzz.
So I heard Jimmy first. What film?
I think I cheated a bit there.
What song title?
This
it
is the
song
only
title?
example, it's right.
Is it Goldfinger by Shirley Bassey?
Is it Goldfinger by Shirley Bassey? Yes, it is. There she is, and there's a few more animations.
Finger.
Right, do we all understand it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't cheat by buzzing in halfway through the question.
Yeah, can you please wait until I finish?
Absolutely.
Just for
Patience.
I know it's going to be quite a free-for-all, but we'll see how it goes.
Right, I got excited.
Right, are we ready?
Yeah.
Question 1. You drift through the years and life seems tame till one dream appears and love is its name.
Buzz.
Jimmy?
Is it Casino Royale?
Wrong.
Okay, let's try.
Did you want me to repeat it, anyone?
Yeah,
Buzz.
go ahead.
You drift through the years and life seems tame till one dream appears and love is its name.
Buzz.
Buzz. Ah,
Oh, I did not. Was it Emma?
I think so.
Is it Skyfall?
Wrong.
Buzz.
Jimmy?
From Russia with Love?
Wrong. Right, James, have you got a guess? And then I'm just gonna avoid this one.
Is it? Oh, okay, stab in the dark here. Is it Moonraker?
It's not.
Is it-
Okay,
oh,
so it is You Only Live Twice by Nancy Sinatra.
I was going
Cool.
to say sort of Solace next. Yeah, yeah, this is not.
Right, are we ready for question number 2, song number 2?
Let's go.
Another blinger with a slick trigger finger for Her Majesty.
Buzz.
Jimmy?
It's going to be wrong. Skyfall?
Wrong.
Okay.
Buzz.
James?
Is it On Her Majesty's Secret Service?
It doesn't even have
Wrong.
lyrics.
Doesn't even have lyrics that one.
Okay, I haven't seen any Bond films, not I know many of the songs. I'm just stabbing in the dark for all of them.
Could you
Emma?
repeat it?
Yeah, go on.
Another blinger with a slick trigger finger for Her Majesty.
Ooh, Buzz.
What? Oh, James?
Is it Diamonds Are Forever?
Wrong. I think you get 2 guesses and you're out, I think, because it's
Alright.
going to be here all day.
I'll use my last one, Buzz.
Yep, Jimmy?
Is it. Now, the song is Writings on the Wall.
No.
Okay, well.
Emma, you've got 2 if you want.
Golden Finger?
Goldfinger, no.
Golden Finger. Octopussy.
No. Okay.
It's Goldeneye, isn't it?
No.
It's still going
Another
on. I
blinger
know.
with the slick trigger finger for Her Majesty. That one.
What the hell?
Oh,
This film didn't exist. It's that bad.
I mean, there's not much you can rhyme with.
That's
Solace,
the
I
opening
guess.
lyric. I actually quite like that song personally, but.
Alright, fair enough.
Alright, question 3. Right, ready?
Yeah.
He always runs while others walk.
Buzz, Thunderball.
Buzz Thunderball.
Tom Jones, Thunderball.
Yeah, he's got it
Oh.
right.
Yes.
So the first point finally after 3
Yeah.
is in fact Jimmy's. It's number 4. I wasn't looking, but somehow you found me.
Buzz,
Jimmy?
nobody does it better.
Was it Nobody Does It Better?
Harley Simon.
Yes, it was.
Nobody does it
Is it
better.
better? Right, number 5. I'm a bit rattled by that. This is the end. Hold your breath and count to 10.
Damn it!
James, I think, got that.
Is it Skyfall?
Is.
Is it Skyfall? Yes,
I
it
got a
is.
point! Yay! Is this scaffold?
Right, question
Hey.
6.
Oh,
So it's picture round.
Ooh.
And what's going to happen is there's going to be a picture of someone from the James Bond sort of
Universe.
the franchise, and it's going to have someone's face over the top blocking out their face. And you just need to tell me who the actual character is.
okay.
And the bonus point, I'm going to do bonus points for the actual actress or actor as well. All right, ready?
Yeah, go. Buzz, Eva Green, Vesper Lynn.
Look at that.
Jimmy, Eva Green, Vesper Lynn. It was indeed.
Oh my god, I love it.
I'm not
Oh,
going to say, yeah, that's fine.
I don't know who pulls it off better, if I'm being honest.
3, 2, 1.
Buzz,
Jimmy.
yours, Richard Keel.
Jules Richard Keel. Was it Jules Richard Keel? It was.
I miss having that hair, like, now that it's all shaved off by my sister.
Question 8. Are we ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Buzz,
Oh, that's like the only one I know.
Jimmy.
Ernst Stavro Blofeld,
Yeah.
and I think it's the Donald Pleasance one.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is.
You can see
So I
that
think
Austin
Jimmy
Powers
has already
done
won this, by the way. Ready?
Yeah. Buzz,
Jimmy.
it's Honey Rider, and it's Ursula Andress.
It is, in fact, yes. Honey Rider.
Sorry guys, I suggested we do James Bond this week. It's so unfair.
Anytime you want to join in, Emma and James, feel free.
Buzz.
Buzz.
Yeah, I think it was James.
All right, James.
Is it Q?
Mhm.
He's played by Ben Whishaw.
Oh, what
Is it? It is.
Yeah, there you go. I got 2. This is going so well.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Buzz,
Jimmy.
is it Benicio del Toro? And I think his character's called Dario, isn't it?
Unfortunately, Jimmy's correct.
That's obscure. That happened to be in the film I watched yesterday.
He looks
Yeah,
so young. Look at him.
He was
Right.
like, hey, he's the youngest ever done villain. That's a fun fact.
3, 2, 1.
Buzz.
Emma.
I don't actually know it.
Oh my god, Emma.
Is it L?
You-
The bad guy from Casino Royale.
Yeah, you've just spoke about him.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it. El Chief.
Buzz, please.
I think you got it there, Emma.
But I don't know who the
Is it?
actor is.
Say it again.
El Chife. Chife.
I'll accept that, so that's 1 point. Do you know the actor?
No.
I
Buzz.
do.
I'll get James.
Oh,
It's Mads Mikkelsen.
I know his.
Okay, there we go. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Buzz.
Jimmy.
I don't know the actress. Fancy that. But how could I forget a name such as Holly Goodhead?
It is indeed Holly Goodhead.
Wow.
Does anyone know the actress?
No.
Wait, I do not know.
I don't have a clue. Who is it?
She's called Lois Chiles. 3, 2, 1.
Buzz.
Jimmy.
It's how could I forget this name either? It's Pussy Galore,
Mm-hmm.
and the actress is Honor Blackman.
I'm afraid he's right again, folks. 3,
So,
2, 1.
Buzz. It's
Oh,
Christopher
Jimmy.
Walken. Christopher
Yeah.
Walken, Max Zorin,
yeah.
and then it's Mayday, and it's Grace Jones. There you go. I couldn't remember it first.
You got a full house there, guys.
He's
Congrats, winner, which is Jimmy by a long way. Jimmy. Yeah, you got 19 points.
not bad.
James in second with 4.
Thank you.
yeah, good.
Emma in third with 1.
So that means this month's winner with two points is Jimmy. Noah had 1
Look.
point, and James had 1 point as well. I'm the only one that didn't win a game. We will be refreshing our games. Any winners' thoughts, Jimmy?
I just think it really pays to have picked the subject that we're talking about for the week. But thank you. No, I do enjoy a James Bond quiz. Well, thank you, everyone. What a great way to cap off our James Bond episode. Comment below what score you got. You probably beat somebody out there has beaten me, I'm sure. Not physically, that would be an assault. But thank you for watching. Don't know why I did a little head tilt there, but we've been 4 struggling filmmakers. As you can see, we're going to continue to struggle, and you guys continue to stay safe.
Come in, M. I need orders.
M!
Who's next?
Hey.
It's Emma.
Hello.